My friend Toasty here was begging me not to talk about this yet, but I couldn't resist. There's a huge issue with Rust at the moment, and that is the ousting of dedicated hardcore players for the casual degenerates. Players who stick to games like they stick to their goals. They give it a go, then ignore them. These players rarely stick around longer than 48 hours in a wipe, and only play Rust because they saw their favorite streamers play it. Them, and the clans. The groups of players who don't stop holding hands even for a second. Now, I don't have a problem with the existence of clans, but Facepunch is developing Rust into a casual's dream and a solo's nightmare. If you join any of Rust's official servers, you'll notice two things: the lack of solo players who consider themselves hardcore for Rust, and giant bases that seem to be growing out of the fucking ground. It's gotten so bad that Toasty's been stuck inside for the past week. This is a letter to the Rust developers, an homage to OG Rust players, and hopefully a compromise between the new and old survivors of the wasteland. Right off the jump, I want you to see some footage of some action that took place at an airdrop earlier today. Keep this in mind as we go about our chit-chat. Toasty, can you roll the tape for our guests?
Kill me, please kill me to die.
What the fuck is this, man? Yeah, man, there's nothing I can fucking do. Thanks, Toasty. I want you to consider the Recoil update of 2022. Who did it serve most? That's right. The casual players who couldn't really dedicate enough time to Rust to learn the recoil patterns, and the clans. The Zergs. You see, I do my best to be fair and consider everyone who has an opinion of the recoil changes, but then I come back to reality. Every time someone tells me they love the new guns, I wonder, why don't you ever complain about the clans? You know, the groups who blockade whole sectors of the map and surround monuments with walls. Every time I hear, sorbet, the new recoil made it better for new players like me who can't learn the old recoil. All I can think about is, okay, but what about everything else? You see, I'm starting to realize why players were complaining about the old recoil, and I'm not talking about all of them, but the vast majority of them. You don't care about Rust. You probably saw this shiny new survival game with cool graphics from a streamer or YouTuber and said, hey, I want to give that a go. You come to the wasteland and you find out how punishing it is, and then you complain about it. Then it becomes a tailored experience for the bottom 10% of players, the casuals, and the top 10%, the clans. Meanwhile, nobody advocates for the other rough 8%, which is your average solo, duo, and trio. Toasty and I frequently talk about how much it sucks to leave our cabin, but the more I step outside, the more significant I realize the problems the wasteland is facing are. Another controversial but less discussed change to Rust was the addition of auto turrets. Who does the auto turrets benefit the most? That's right, the casual player who only comes on to refill the TC and roam for 15 minutes, and the clans. Don't even get me started on clans building multiple bases next to each other, or planting micro bases with turrets on them so you can't build in the area. All of these are symptoms of a larger issue, that being the lost vision of Rust's hardcore and competitive roots. You see, as soon as someone can't point the finger at someone in the game, they just blame the game. Like the old saying goes, don't hate the player, hate the game. Rust is now in a very bad position. I've got some more footage from the same day that you saw before, and I want you to take note of something. The recent World Update 2.0 was supposedly the biggest update since 2022. You'll easily find people hyping up Rust's new additions to the game and how great they are. But what I'm about to show you is the reality of what players are experiencing. Again, this was on official Rust servers during early to midday in my time zone. It was only the third day of the wipe, and you're gonna see a plethora of large-scale clan bases right next to each other. So check this out. I was running around on one of the main servers, one of the official servers from Facepunch. Right now, this is the Rusty Moose US Mondays. It's a weekly server where every week it wipes, and I believe it's got a monthly BP wipe. And look at this base, man. What the heck am I looking at here? What the heck is this? If I wanted to raid this, there is no chance in hell I'm ever going to try and raid this while these players are online. I can't even begin to tell you where I would even start with this thing. There is walls surrounding it, which is, you know, decently common, but then they've got these little micro TC areas built up around their main base. What the heck is this? Look at how many windmills they've got, man. They've got like 2, 4, 6, 8 probably back there. They've got SAM turrets on top of the roof. They've got furnaces, multiple furnaces, cooking. Oh, I think they're about to take off. I can hear one. Jesus. I think their SAM turret just shot down a helicopter. I'm gonna go see if I can find a bag or something. What the heck is this, man? Like, this is insane. Jesus Christ. What the heck is all these? Look at all those pipes, man. Oh shit, that must be some of them over there. Jesus Christ, man. There's even like the spiked metal barricades on top of their external TCs. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, it would take me more than a week just to have enough to raid like one good loot room in this base. It would take the entire wipe just to get into like one room. There's something else I wanted to show you guys, and that is the group bases that I saw on the mountainside over here. Hold on, let me get on the mountain over here. This little new addition to the game that no one seems to be caring about. Look at this, okay? So this is a new addition to the game. Right here, right? This little rock formation that forms this little like semi-cave like area where you can build inside of, right? Never mind, let me just show you. Let me just show you something ridiculous. So what I'm standing on top of right now is a recent addition to Rust in the latest update, the World Update 2.0, right? And they added this little henge area, like this stone henge garbage, where, you know, they said you could build inside of, which was part of like the new building mechanic feature, right? You could build inside of like the rocks and the mountains and shit. Look at this base, right? Look at this base. It's very similar to the one that we just saw over there. But look at this, right? There's no way I'm raiding this base. Like, maybe, right? I could maybe do some damage to that one, enough to where it's like kind of worth it. But so there's a base right there. There's a base beyond these trees right there. You can see that. Look, there's another one way over there, built pretty much exactly the same. There's another one way over there, and then outside of my render range, all along the mountainside, down that way towards the east, right? All the way down this way, there are the same type bases as far as the eye can see. A couple days into the wipe. All of this talk about the World Update 2.0 being the next big thing for Rust, yet no one is even partaking in the very basic new stuff. So I found another one of these Stonehenge little areas, and check this out. Not a single base around this entire little stone area, right? The World Update 2.0, everybody. Everyone was saying this was supposed to be the biggest update since the Recoil update, man. You know? Look at this. Look at this. There's nobody here. Nobody's building inside these little rock formations. You know? Look at that. There's the anvil rock that everyone was talking about. Oh, this is gonna be like the biggest update. You know? These update channels that talk about, Rust update, the next update, the next update. It's so fucking cool. No, it's not, man. Nobody gives a fuck. Look at this. Nobody cares that you could build right here. Nobody cares that you could build over there. Look, there's a giant clan base over there doing what a clan would normally do. Build a giant ass base, man. Nobody cares. So when players say Rust is in such a good spot, check out this, check out that. How about you check it out and let me know? Because at the moment, clans are still rampaging, nakeds are still running around with DBs like chickens with their heads cut off, and solo players aren't coming out of their bases with any gear. The reason that this is such a significant alarm to me is because I knew these problems existed, but I didn't know they were this bad on official servers. I tend to play on community because they usually have more active admins, but that's besides the point. Don't bring up how amazing the new Recoil is and not say that, oh, we need to do something about auto turrets, multi-TC bases, Team UI being too broken, because Rust is fundamentally a hardcore game and benefits from properties that make it so. But when you argue that the new Recoil is better, or you even thinking about the rest of the game, this makes me think that these players don't care about Rust. At the moment, Rust caters to casual players, which is weird because it wasn't really like that in the past. Sure, we've had casuals come and go, but at the end of the day, Rust was always a fun game because it was hardcore. And it's teetering on a decision. This indecisiveness from developers has divided the community, but if they were to consider Rust's core members, they probably wouldn't be adding stuff no one cares about. In my opinion, Rust is better as a hardcore game with casual elements sprinkled in. But this weird dance with the player base and developers on whether Facepunch should add in more balanced PvP or something dumb like aquatic wildlife is ridiculous. I've yet to see a successful game that is like Rust but is made for casuals. To be honest, I don't think there could be such a thing as a casual survival shooter game that is centered around PvP. At the moment, it seems like we're being fed a casual base builder with unintentional PvP moments. If Facepunch wants Rust to be casual, remove the sleeping players, replace projectile-based weapons with hit-scan ones, remove base decay, why go halfway on your delivery? Because Rust doesn't feel like a hardcore game right now. It looks like one, but it feels like I'm playing Valorant, with the look and sounds of DayZ and Minecraft. By the way, if that's the direction they want to go, I can't stop them, and I wouldn't blame them. But don't keep promising changes to PvP, then give me new rock formations. Hardcore Rust, with some casual side questing elements to it, is all good and fine, but adding new skins and biome reworks doesn't make Rust more enticing. Imagine this. You have two games, an MMO with cooking in it, and a cooking simulator with ingredient fetch quests. I'd be willing to bet me and Toasty's last bit of scrap that more players would be willing to stick to the MMO with cooking as a side quest option than play the cooking simulator with the endless number of side quests. It's the difference between dropping a cookie in the dirt and putting sugar on shit. No matter what you add to a pile of crap, it's still crap. That's also why fun cooking games just give you the ingredients. Take Overcooked as an example. Toasty and I have received a lot of notes in the mail from you guys, and we appreciate your thoughts, whether we agree with them or not. And I'd like to read one that Toasty picked out. This was in response to our chit-chat about Rust difficulty, creating good times, and forming a prime era of Rust. This survivor wrote, "Disagree personally. I don't like recoil patterns. It punishes new players that, pretty reasonably, didn't expect a gun to draw a perfect upside-down backwards 5. When people think of Rust, they think of Ramsey infiltrating a Chinese clan, Wombo betraying a couple of guys for kicks, Stimpy making dumb kids mad, and wanting to do that yourself. I doubt anybody thinks fondly of sitting in front of an array of invincible NPCs perfecting arbitrary patterns." Thank you for the note, but I think Toasty and I would both agree that anyone who's new to anything shouldn't expect to be good right off the bat, or not expect to have to practice. You mentioned that it punishes new players and you didn't expect to draw a perfect upside-down backwards 5. Well, think of it like fishing. You don't expect to be learning to tie a knot, bait a hook, or learn to cast by watching the highlight reel of people catching monster fish. But that's part of the process, especially since you mentioned that this was about new players. It's lazy and entitled to think that you shouldn't have to work for anything because you saw a clip of someone who clearly worked for something be good at it. I don't watch all of the people you mentioned, but I'm sure they also had a lot of time practicing their aim, whether in the wasteland or in an arena server. I've watched Beach Hill since Legacy, and I know he's practiced. But I don't compare myself to him and then complain about it just because the game is hard. So what? Just get better at the game, don't beg for the game to be easier, because it shows less about the game being unplayable and more about you not wanting to work for the same thing you saw someone else earn. It's like if I begged that I should be paid more because someone else is making more money than me, but the economy is trash, so it should become easier for me. Why? What gives you the right to dictate your lack of experience as justification for my suffering? And not only that, a decided lack of experience. You can always choose to get better, but you'd rather complain. Also, to address the second part of your note, you mentioned sitting in front of NPCs and practicing arbitrary patterns. I assume you're referring to practicing in a target range on a server. If that's the case, you're again choosing not to practice the thing that makes someone great. You also have the option to practice within a normal server, but you don't mention that you do that either. You could correlate this to a hypothetical person who wants to get better at basketball like an NBA player, but complaining that you're not as good as them because you don't want to go play pickup ball at your local rec center because that requires you to actually leave your driveway and talk to people. Sure, it might not be what you imagine when you watch the Lakers dominate on TV, but you got so much more ground to cover before you even earn the right to complain about them being better. Something that you didn't mention in your note, but I assumed you were trying to portray, is that the recoil patterns might not have been a necessary part of the game, and I would heavily disagree. Because other parts of the game also lean towards a hardcore semi-competitive nature, it would also make sense that the recoil matches that energy. For example, you could instantly place down large wooden barricades for cover and heal yourself after getting shot multiple times with syringes, bandages, medkits, and shoving pumpkins down your throat. So again, it makes sense that the recoil also reflects the competitive nature with the rest of the surrounding elements of PvP. Thanks for being a guest in our cabin. Toasty and I really enjoy the company and all of the little notes you guys leave for us. Stay safe and stay frosty.